Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, Sangat Ji. Thank you so much for coming. There's still 3 minutes left if you want to grab some tea and some snacks if you like. But we're going to get started soon. Yeah, you just grab whatever you like. We're just going to get started soon. So as you guys are grabbing some snacks, I'm just going to talk about Benji a little bit, the one that's presenting today. So this is Bibi Amandeep Kaur, and she's driven all the way from Slough, all the way from Slough, just to come here and to talk to us about mental health and different issues that we face as a community. So Benji is an experienced and qualified coach who is passionate about supporting individuals in navigating life's ups and downs, especially when it comes to mental health. And she uses a holistic approach in recognizing the connection between mental, emotional, and physical well-being. She's helped countless individuals realize that the solution lies within and help them move past their current challenges and use practical ways such as self-awareness and mindful Simran. So we're very honored and thankful to have Benji with us to talk about well-being, mental, physical, and emotional well-being. And thank you everybody for coming today. So we're going to get Benji to come and get started with this Chaa chat, which we're very excited about. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So before we start, we're just going to try to settle our minds and get into the right mindset to be open to listening. We all come here from different places, different things are happening. ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕੱਲੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ? ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ? Half English, half Punjabi. Okay. So koshish karungi. We'll try to do both Punjabi and English. So we're just going to start with a little bit of Simran. If you've never done Simran before, all we're going to do is close our eyes. And we're going to chant the Guru Mantra, which is Vaheguru. We're not going to do anything else. We're just going to chant. Gaviye asi Guru Mantra asi bolana. So we're going to sing that Guru Mantra. Suniye. Us Guru Mantra nu asi sunna. Tonu mein dhyan. We're going to listen to the sound of our own voice as we chant. Gaviye, suniye, mana rakhiye par. We're going to chant and sing with that love. So we're only focusing on what we're chanting, which is Vai, which means wow, amazing, or Guru, to that light, that jyot that is within all things. So we're going to chant Saryane Kathyane Japana Karushu Vaheguru 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 Vaheguru
Pandit Ji. Thank you to the Sangha for the opportunity to come and speak today. We'll tell you a little bit about our background. So, on the dunyavi taur, on the worldly level, it's important for us to know where someone is coming from, what their experience is. So, on that worldly level, the most important thing is not the list of titles that you see there as coach, as a chaplain, as other things. That's not that important. All it means is that you've got a tick of approval, that you've done some courses and things like that. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੁਨਿਆਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਠੀਕ ਆ, but the most important thing is that experience that we've had. Experience speaks volumes. So as someone who has experienced mental health challenges, as someone who has families who's experienced that, as someone who's worked with people who have experienced that, that to me is the most important. जिन्हों ने अपने मन अपना एक्सपीरियंस है वो बहुत है क्योंकि सानू फिर पता लगता वे कि सानू हुंदा कितना औखा है तो अगे असी कितना जाना. What happens? It's important that we know what happens and how we work through that and how then we can help others from that. So the other thing that's even more important than our own experience and our own qualifications is, for me, is Gurmat, is what my Guru says, what that eternal wisdom is that's coming from Vaheguru, Akal Purkh themselves. Turki Bani Ai, Din Sagali Chint Madai. That this Bani, this wisdom that Guru is giving us in Guru Granth Sahib Ji, where has it come from? It's come from Turki Bani, it's come from Vaheguru themselves. Sagali Chint Madai. Then all of our worries, all of our fears dissolves. And to me this is something that you will see again and again. The more we go into our different dharams, our different religions, we will get that whole thing that all different traditions are talking about. And that might be love, that might be patience, that might be there's something bigger than ourselves. Anji. So I'm going to start with the end in mind. And the main crux, Jida Mulya, Jiri Jasi Khojaniya, the main thing that we're going to really contemplate today, and I'm not going to go through the whole Bhakti, but you can read it in English in your own time. But the key here is Sarvaroga Okhadanam Kalyan Mangal Gunagam. So if we're talking about mental health, and generally when we say mental health, we're talking about mental health challenges. Mental health is actually not just about illness. It's about a way of being where we're healthy. Just like physical health isn't just talking about being in a state of disease. ਕੱਲੇ ਰੋਗ ਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਤੰਦਰੁਸਤ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਖਿਆ. Maharaj Ji has told us in Gurbani, how do we be healthy? How do we be in this positive state of mind, of body and spiritually? So Maharaj says Sarabroga Okhadanam, that for all illnesses, Sarabrog, so where can we be diseased? Where can we be ill? We can be physically ill. Tan de vich rog ho sakda, sareer de vich, man da bhi rog ho sakda, we can be mentally ill. And we can have spiritual illness as well. Atmik level te bhi sada rog ho sakda. The Maharaj says Sarabroga, of all of these diseases, that cure is Naam. And we're going to go into what does that Naam mean. And Maharaji tells us there, they give us an indication. Kalyana Roop Mangal Gunagam. There's something there about singing. And it might not be physically singing, but being in this state of praise of Vaheguru, of knowing the source, the truth of who we are. And so Maharaji is telling us, and I'm just going to go through the English, that this mantra, this connection that we have with our deepest state of ourselves, that Jod Sarup, that light that is within all, anyone from any class, any race, any religion may chant that name. And whoever chants that name becomes emancipated. When we come into the Sangha, and how do we get that grace? When that grace comes, then I'll be able to come into the Sangha, I'll be able to chant, I'll get better. But Maharaj is also telling us that grace is sadam. is always raining down. God's grace, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਸਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੇ ਮੀਂਹ ਵਾਂਗ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਆ। ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਆ? Where is our mind? Is our mind in a state of receiving that? It's that lekha that Maharaj is talking about, this written account. But who is writing this written account? Kar karna likh le jaho. By doing something again and again, thinking the same thoughts, saying the same words, man, bach, karam, doing the same actions, we are creating that account. So we talk about kamai, we talk about earning. We can earn on a physical level, but we can also earn on a spiritual level. O kamai bhi asi karna, uddam bhi asi karna. And that kamai, the ultimate thing, is that naam that we're going to go into. So Maharaj is saying, it doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, what your past is, what family you've come from, what you've experienced to this point does not matter. कोई गल नहीं केरे जात तो आ पिछे की होया गां की होना आ यही चीज है तुसी हुण की करना वर्तमान दे विच in that present moment. What are you going to do right now? That's what's most important. So Maharaj is telling us that naam is important, that connection ultimately to something bigger than yourself, that light, that sound, that Vaheguru, that God that is within you, that you can access. That's the most important. And with that, everything can be overcome, it can be healed. And it's not just done by those religious rituals. I do this much reading of scripture, I do this much service of the community. But Maharaj is saying, yes, that's good. But what's happening in here? What's happening in your mind, right? Because you can be doing that. You can be serving someone, you can be reading your prayers. But if your mind is still stuck in a state of what's happened in the past, of judgment, of fear, of anger, of resentment, then that physical action is not going to help us. ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਾਠ ਕਰਦੇ ਪਰ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਟਿਕਦਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਛਲੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਹ ਚੰਗਾ ਹੈ ਮਾਰਾ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਣਨਾ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਮਨ ਦੀ ਖੇਲ ਆ. It's all a game of the mind ultimately, and it's all a game of where is our mind focused. जैसा सेवा तैसो होए. Whatever we serve with this mind, that's how we're going to become. If we serve the past, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਛਲੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਫਿਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਰੋਗ ਲੱਗਣਾ, ਸੋਗ ਦਾ, depression ਦਾ. If we're serving thoughts of the past, we're bound to get stuck in the past and experience depression. If we're always worried about the future, we're in a state of fear. ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਾਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸੋਚੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਵੇ ਫਿਕਰਾਂ ਚਿੰਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੋਣਾ, then we're going to get labeled as having anxiety. But if we're right here, right now, Vartaman de vich, in the present moment, if we're in that state of praise of Vaheguru and we start to understand the core of this Gurbani, we start to contemplate the scripture and live it. Gurbani kya hai? Sevak janaman. Patak Guru nistane. Whatever Gurbani, whatever scripture is telling us, we become that. Then Vaheguru becomes Pragat. God becomes manifest in our lives. Then there's no problem. And again, Maharaj is telling us, it does not matter who you are. This is accessible to everybody. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is Jagat Guru, is the Guru for the whole world. So it doesn't matter whether you cut your kids, it doesn't matter if you drink, if you do this, you do that, whatever your journey is, it does not matter. This wisdom is eternal truth and it applies to everybody. Right. So Benji gave a few questions as prompts and I'll try to cover some of those, but we will, and you have an opportunity at the end for some questions as well. So maaf karna, just kind of an apology, but not an apology in the same way. Yes, we do need to be very compassionate when we're thinking about mental health, right? At the same time, there's this statement at the moment that's out there, which is it's okay to not be okay. And I understand that statement. Asi keh dinde ave tusi theek nahi, koi gal nahi. It's important that we're not judging, that we're not creating this stigma around mental health. But at the same time, it's also important that we learn the gyan that Guru's given us and how to overcome this, because there are ways to overcome this. So the apology is that we're going to base this on Gurbani, and that's unapologetically. So I'm creating a contradiction here. The apology is that we're going to only focus on Gurbani. We're not going to go into Western psychology necessarily. We're not going to go into self-development necessarily, because that's only part of the picture. And so the apology is if you were expecting that and you feel like this is harsh, I'm sorry you feel like it's harsh. But if we don't talk about the true wisdom, if that feels too difficult to us, then we're only going to create a certain amount of progress in our lives. And we know that Gurbani Guru is the ultimate truth. So that's why we're going to focus on that. So Maharaj kende, jo jo dise, so rogi, rog rahat mera satguru jogi. So whoever I see is diseased. Kahavat je, like when older ladies are kende, jena nu nahi puchde ohe theek hai. Jena nu puchde ho rogi hai. Whoever you ask, they're diseased, they have an illness, they're not well in some way. It's only the person you don't ask that aren't. So Maharaj is saying that. They're saying that everybody is diseased. But what is this disease that we have? And ultimately that's the disease of homme, of me, of I, of ego, of using our own thinking process, which isn't really our own. It's come from our culture, it's come from society, it's come from the media that is telling us this is right, this is wrong. But there's this eternal wisdom that is within us, that is also in Gurbani, that tells us how to be free of disease. So what is affecting our community? That is one of the questions from Benji. So we all have a mind. Is there anybody here who's out of their mind? Sorry, bad joke. We all have a mind. So we can all be affected. And like I said, I've experienced mental health challenges. Pretty much everyone I know who's not a child, and many children experience it too now, more and more increasingly. Jeda ko manya, ona ko rog bhi hunda, ona ko dukh bhi hunda. Whoever's got a mind, they can experience mental health challenges, and they can also overcome it. So depression, udasi, I think that these are the right words. Je wrong shabad ya mainu das do. Udasi theek hai? Depression? Yeah? Udas hona. So again, like we said, depression, generally what we find more and more is that's the older generation. More and more. Idam da ve asi bachchiyan nu palya. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਡਾ ਕੀਤਾ, ਵਿਆਹ ਕੀਤਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕੰਮ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਵੱਡੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ, ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਰੀਏ? ਸਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਟਿਕਦਾ, right? So we bring up our children, we go to work, we stay very busy, then we retire, the kids grow up, and then our mind doesn't know what to do because we were so distracted all that time. But now we have to sit with this man. And it's not that you were okay before and now you're not. Idda nahi ve agge theek si, hon main nahi theek. Jehde vichar chalde si man de vich, oh hon jyade pragat hunde a. Karke koi distraction nahi hai, right? It's whatever was going on in the mind. Now that we're sitting, we don't have anything to do. That's what's coming up. So anxiety does not have a number anymore. So more and more we're hearing little Benji was saying as well, little children are experiencing these mental health issues. And I'm not going to give you an answer right now, but ask yourself why. What is different about the society that we live in now that nikke bachchiyan nu chinta fikriya, rogya chinta fikranda? If you go to the children's ward, I work in a hospital, the majority of the children are on anxiety medication. More and more that we're doing this work, Maharaj Ji Kirpa na, we're getting younger and younger. As the more we do the work, younger and younger are those clients that are coming and saying we need help. First it was older people during COVID, that was really difficult, Hannah. Then it was, okay, mothers, new mothers. Then it was people who were at university, but now even at school age, people are saying, Benji, can you help this person? Because she's got anxiety, she can't go to school, she's struggling to get out of bed, right? So we've got to ask ourselves, why is that the case? And we're going to go into that deeper. Obsessive compulsive disorder is a specific thing, and it can affect anybody, but within our community, because we have this idea of sucham, we can take that to the next level. So we have people var hath dhone, var sochi jana, ohi gal sochi jani. that we're washing our hands for sucham over and over again. And it's good to wash your hands, don't get me wrong, but it's when it becomes an obsession, or we're trying to do things a certain way, we're thinking the same thoughts again and again. And suicide, as we know, is always on the rise. We've got to ask ourselves, if we have this amazing psychology system, mental health system, if we have this amazing physical health system now that we have, especially in a country like this, why are these things on the rise? Why are the hospitals full of people with physical health issues? Why is mental health issues on the rise? So clearly, we're not quite hitting the nail on the head. We don't quite have the answers. Please remind me to speak in Punjabi again. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤਨ ਦੇ ਰੋਗ ਵੀ ਲੱਗਦੇ, ਮਨ ਦੇ ਰੋਗ ਵੀ ਲੱਗਦੇ, ਵੱਧਦੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਕਿਉਂ? ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਣਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਵੱਧਦੀਆਂ? So here are some of the things that I think, and we'll go into them deeper, of why these things are getting bigger. So I don't know if kalank is the right word. Taboo? Yeah, ठीक है. दाग लगना. ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੇ ਫਲਾਣੇ ਦੇ ਕੁੜੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, ਫਲਾਣੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣਾ, right? We say, oh, this person did their experience this person experienced that, and we create such a taboo that we don't want to talk about it. We're scared that our children won't be able to get married. We're scared of what people think. ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ, ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਿਆਨ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ. If we don't talk about what these issues are, we keep them hidden within our community because of embarrassment, because of shame, then we're not going to be able to access the solutions either. There is nobody who on purpose is going to have a mental health challenge. It's because they need help. Nobody on purpose, because they want to try and get attention, is going to show up with these symptoms. It's because that person needs help. That's why we need to talk about it. And who is the culprit? It's not somebody who's sitting in another Gurdwara, or someone who, you know, it's your flana restadar, your family member somewhere else. It's us. We are the problem, we are the solution. And I'm not going to make you put your hands up, but how many times has someone come and sat next to you and said, flana, this person's experienced this, odi kuri iddan daya, oda munda iddan daya, right? That this person's like this person's like that. That's our job to shut it down at that point and say, we don't want to talk about other people's problems, but let's think about what are the solutions. Actually, I felt depressed, I felt anxiety, and actually this is what we need, this is what helped me. That would be much more useful than saying, Sachi, really? And then sharing that gun on and on and on. So there's the stigma, superstition as well. Maybe. But we all should know by now there's nothing more powerful than Vaheguru. Yeah? That all Vema Paramande Asi Jado Rajandaya, we take away everybody's power then. We say someone's done this jadoo, they've done black magic, someone's, you know, put something in somebody's food. There's nothing more powerful than Vaheguru. And so when we believe that, and we leave it at that, then what we're saying is we're powerless, we're helpless, and Maharaj is clearly telling us we're not, that there's nothing more powerful than Naam. And so that can be overcome as well. Comparison, again, I'm not sure about the Punjabi, I was using Baba Google to translate for me. So, Tolana si karte hain. We're comparing, Flana, the son is, you know, they've got this degree, they've got this house, and you know, so-and-so's Guri, she got married here, and she does all the housework, and she looks after the children, and she goes to work, because she doesn't have a 24-hour day, she has a 48-hour day, clearly. And we set these unrealistic expectations, we're constantly comparing. Again, why are children experiencing more and more anxiety? When I went to school, and this sounds bad, my mum and dad didn't really care. They wanted me to study, but it was like, you know, do your best kind of thing. And it was like, yeah, we want you to get a job, otherwise you're getting married. That was enough of a motivator for me. But now it's like, you have to be the top athlete at football, at wrestling, at gymnastics. You have to be the best at swimming. You also have to be creative, right? Your child has to be a mastermind in creating abstract art. But then you also have to get A's, you know, not just A's, A stars, because now A's not enough. A stars in maths and in English and in science and in art and in history, geography. You have to become a doctor basically before you get to the age of 5. How realistic is that? And don't forget, you also have to learn the housework, right? And you have to have your Gurbani Kant, and you have to be an amazing Kirtani. Are we any of that? Are we perfect in every way? No. Pullan andar sab ko apur guru karta. We're human beings and we're made perfectly in that sense. Koi galti nahi. Maharaj koi mistake nahi karta. Vaheguru doesn't make any mistakes. They've made us all perfectly. And we all have our own strengths and weaknesses. But asi inni pressure paunde aa bachchiyan te. Baddiyan te bhi. Even, you know, me, I'll be like, oh, well, why wasn't my mum this way? My mum has had mental health issues, still has them. But I was like, oh, why couldn't she be like so-and-so's mum? Well, I'm comparing that. And who gave me that mum? Who gave me that mum? Why? So when I question that, who am I questioning? Why? Guru's created a perfect system. They've put the sun at the perfect place from the earth that we don't burn to death and we don't freeze to death. They've created the perfect level of gravity that we can walk and not fly off into the sky, or we're not stuck to the surface. If Vaheguru has created all of that, do you not think that they've put us with the perfect people and given us the perfect personalities? Hanji? Yeah. And so we're going against that hukam. We're going against Vaheguruji's will, and that is what is creating a lot of mental health issues. A lot these days we talk about autism. That's on the increase. The spectrum. And maaf karna, but this is my personal opinion. Children who are on the autistic spectrum have it right. They know what is important in life and what is not important in life. And it's when we try to put these worldly values on autistic children, they react to that. Because they, and I'm talking about my personal experience, they value love, they value compassion, they value kindness, they value sage, being at ease, they take their time. They value all of these precious things that Maharaji has told us that are important. But now you try to stick them into a school system or a culture where we're only valuing whoever's at the top. It's like a giraffe trying to climb a tree. That's not going to happen. We're not all the same. Expectation, ultimately, umeed. We don't look at our own expectation most of the time, and even that can be detrimental, because we think we should be perfect, but we're expecting that when we get married, jadon sada biyah hoga, age nahi si hunda hunda, hon ajkal hunda ve, they have to be good looking, they have to have a Porsche, they have to have this, they have to have that. And while we're looking for all that, what have we missed out? Is that person actually kind? Is that person actually going to back me up and look after me when I need it? Because we've been cultured into, conditioned into, programmed into believing that everybody should be a perfect certain way, and that is what perfection is, because we're looking outside to find out what perfection is, and actually it's within us. Sade vich jiri o cheez sade vich hundi si, me swere vichar hunda si man de vich ਅੱਗੇ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਵੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਮਾਈ ਆ our earning used to be dependent on the seasons ਮੌਸਮ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਮੀਂਹ ਪਊਗਾ ਜੇ ਧੁੱਪ ਹੋਗੀ ਖਾਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਸੀ right ਜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ if it was too hot ਜਾਂ hard was it floods hard ਆ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀ ਰੱਬ ਤੇ ਆ so if it used to be our earning used to be on God, right? So if it was hot, if it got too hot, if there were floods, then we didn't earn that living, but we put it on God. And if we did, we thank God. And it used to be that if we got ill, if someone passed away, that was on God, right? So we respected and accepted God's will. It used to be the person who you married, some vijola somewhere, would put you together, and it was, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but it used to be accepted that ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਜੋਗ ਆ and everything. Then we had this dar, we had this fear of God, but we also had this love and appreciation of God, right? The ਹੁਣ ਕੀ ਆ now you're wealth and your status is dependent on have you studied enough, have you gone to work, have you put that effort in, and there's no room for God. God is out of the equation. I like this thing, it's like ego means edging God out, ego. So that's on us, so we think we're in control, and that relationship is now on us. We have to find that person who's the perfect fit, 10 out of 10 in every way. That's on us. And if someone, gets ill, then that's on the hospitals. That's also on us. So instead of Karta Purk, instead of Vaiguru Sara Kush Kardeya, it's become Purk Karta. It's about us and our control. So we have these expectations about what life should be, and we try to stay in control. Kabu karna. We have this herd mentality, this log lajja, that everything has to be perfect on the outside for me to feel good on the inside. So the main point of emphasis here is jithe sada dhyan hai, odda sanu sukh hona ja dukh hona. Wherever our attention is going to determine whether we get sukh or dukh. So sanu dasya gaya je ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਲਈਆਂ, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਕੀਤੀ, ਫਿਰ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ ਗਏ, ਫਿਰ ਵਿਆਹ ਕੀਤਾ, ਫਿਰ ਬੱਚਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਫਿਰ what else is on the list? वो house ਕਰ ਲਿਆ, ਗੱਡੀ ਲਈ, all of these, this to-do list, ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰਲੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਆ, ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਜੇ ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੋਣਾ. If you do all of these things, if you get your education, if you get a job, you get married, you have children, you buy your house, you go on holiday, Instagram perfect, then you'll be happy. And I can tell you, मैं अपनी गाल दस सकती हूँ, मेरे को सारा कुछ हैगा सी. I had everything, and I have everything. Husband, very nice, very good, very kind, loving person. Saas bhi meri changi. Wow. Even my mother-in-law was amazing and is amazing. 2 children, one of each, girl and boy, perfect. Job in central London, amazing, good money. Going on holiday, Mexico, Egypt, amazing, right? Healthy, well, not anymore, clearly, but I used to go to the gym, I used to be really healthy. And yeah, that was the darkest time that I went through. Because there was so much expectation. I have to be perfect daughter-in-law. सारियां चीज़ां सी पर अंदरों मैं मरदी सी. अंदरों इन्ना दुखी सी. I was so दुखी on the inside because I could never live up to the expectation that I had put on myself essentially and society was putting on me. So I was trying to be the perfect daughter-in-law, the perfect sister-in-law, the perfect daughter, the perfect wife, the perfect mother, which is, out of all of them, was the hardest for me personally. And I was falling apart. Everything was breaking. And my physical health then went as well. I had all sorts. I can give you a long list. Endometritis, IBS, gallstones. At one point I couldn't walk for 6 weeks after having my daughter. I couldn't even walk. It would take me half an hour to get to the bathroom. My husband had to help me to get there. Why? When I had everything on the outside, baru sara kuch si medical. But why was I still dukhi on the inside? And that's what Maharaj is telling us. Jiri sadi khushiya, our happiness, that true joy, oh, bahar nahi, andar hai sade. It's inside of us, it's not outside of us. So ask yourself for a moment, apne aap nu pucho. Jo duniya ne sanu dasya, whatever the world has told us, have we achieved that? And how long were we happy? How long were you happy when you passed your exams and left school or you got your degree? How long were you happy? This is a tricky one. After you got married, right? And it's not that there's something wrong with those people or when you had children. What if you can't have children? What if you get divorced? What if you lose your job? Then if that is what your happiness depends on, then obviously you're not going to be happy. But Maharaj is saying something completely different. Maharaj is saying that source of happiness is inside of you. And you can find it because that's where Vaiguru is. That your default nature, man tu jod sarup hai, apna mool pachan. That your default nature, your mool is jod sarup, that light of Vaiguru that's within you, Saj, Anand. You're meant to be in this state of Saj and deep-seated peace, contentment, bliss. But that's not going to happen as long as we're still always prioritizing just the outside. Right. So, Maharaj said, "Bande khoj dil har roj na fir parsani maahe." Before we start looking outside, even if we know someone, je sanu koi pata oda mental health da problem hai, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣਾ. Before we start trying to help anybody else, we have to look at ourselves. Bande khoj dil har roj, your own, search within your own heart and mind every single day. And then you won't be pareshan, you won't be confused, you won't be in anxiety, because you're looking at yourself, you're contemplating who am I. Because as we've said, Maharaj is telling us, you're not your thoughts. For your whole life, maybe you thought, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਇਹ ਮੈਂ ਆ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਾਮ ਦੇ ਆ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਦੇ ਆ sometimes they're angry, sometimes they're lustful, sometimes they're vengeful, sometimes they're fearful, but your thoughts are not who you are. ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਆ ਇਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਪੰਜ ਚੋਰ ਆ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਹੀ ਅੰਦਰ ਪੰਜ ਚੋਰ ਵਸੈ ਕਾਮ ਕ੍ਰੋਧ ਲੋਭ ਮੋਹ ਅਹੰਕਾਰਾ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਲੂਟੇ मनमुख नहीं बुझे कोई न सुने पुकारा. So Maharaj ji कहते हैं जेरे पंज चोर आ वो विचार होंदे आ साडे मन दे विच. These 5 thieves that are within us, काम, that lustful desire, krodh, that anger, काम, krodh, lobh, that greed, moh, that attachment, ahankara, that pride, that ego. It's these 5 entities within this mind that are creating this negative thinking, this negative belief set. It's these 5 thieves that are within us, these 5 tendencies, if you like, that will keep us stuck in the past, in our trauma, in our past experience. Flanne ne idda kiya si, flanne ne odda kita si, this person did this person did that. Pama 20 saal pehla hove, halle vi assi dukhi ha. वो पंज चोर वो विचार साडे मन विच पाउंदे. There's 5 thieves put that within our mind. चोर क्यों होया करके अमृत साडे विच आ. That amrit, that state, that experience of Vaheguru, of Paramatma, of God is within us, and those 5 thieves are stealing it from us through our thoughts again and again and again. So we have to become aware of ourselves. Look at our own mind first, look at our own mind first. What does our mind do? So I was just driving, to give you an example. I was telling Benji, the route Google Baba gave me was through central London from Slough, which was really nice. But as soon as I came into central London, there were these huge billboards. And I don't eat chicken. And I don't like KFC. In fact, it creeps me out. But I saw so many adverts for KFC, even I got hungry. I saw, Kia garage, I saw a Porsche. And I could feel this pyas, this desire, this asa coming up within me. Oh, vi cheezaं main bhi lama, main bhi khawa. That's how the panch chor work within us. We're looking around because we still think I need something on the outside to fulfill us. And jira karya, jira, if you like, the negative energy of the world is always enticing us to go after those things. But what do we lose as we go after those things? So, I don't know why I brought that up, but that's okay. But that's how powerful it is, right? To compare. So we have to look at our own thoughts. What is coming up within us? Become self-aware. Bande khoj. Look within your own mind first. Know what brings you happiness, what doesn't. Sometimes in the past I'd walk into a room, I would be with certain restedar. तो मैं बड़ी खुश थे जाना, पर जब मैं मुड़ के आना, मैनू ठीक नहीं लगना. तो फिर मैनू पता लगना वे चुगलियां ही करते सी. तो जे होर किसी दियां चुगलियां करते, मेरियां भी करते होगे, right? So you can walk into a room and feel completely fine, and when you leave, you don't feel right. And what used to happen is they'd be slandering, they'd be gossiping. And the reason why I didn't feel comfortable, because I thought, if they're slandering and gossiping so-and-so's daughter-in-law and so-and-so's son and daughter, they're going to be doing it for me as well. So never trust anybody who gossips. And if you are the one who gossips, band kar do. What does Maharaj say? Ninda phale kise ki nahi. Right? Maharaj goes as far as to call us an idiot if we do ninda. Because you take, wo jira pa raha si apne sar te lende. right? There was I'm going to एक कहानी दसनी है, a story, एक बीबी सी, तो वो बीबी सारियां दी गल्लां करती सी, पर वो कहती सी मैं उदा नहीं, मैं इदा नहीं, मैं चुगली नहीं करती, मैं उदा ही दसदी हां, उदा ही मैं वो फलाने दा ब्याह, मुंडे दा ब्याह उस कुड़ी नाल होया, ओदा जात पूछती, तो वो फलाने दी कुड़ी ओदा इदा हो गया, डिवोर्स हो गया, तो मैं गल उदा मैं निंदा नहीं करती, मैं उदा ही गल करती हां, मैं उदा ही दसदी हां, तो ओदे नाल की होया, I'll explain in English in a moment. ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹਦੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋਣਾ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਪੁੱਛਣ ਗਈ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਪੜ੍ਹਿਆ ਆ, ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਇੰਨੀ ਡਿਗਰੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ, ਤੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ, ਉਹ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਸੀ, ਕੁੜੀਆਂ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਸੀ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਵੀ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕੁੜੀ, ਗਰਲਫ੍ਰੈਂਡ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਜਾਤ ਦੀ ਆ, ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਜਾਤ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਤ, ਇੱਥੇ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਆ ਜਾਤ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮਾਨਸ ਜਾਤ ਆ, ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਣੇ ਕਰੂਗੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਡਿਪਰੈਸ਼ਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਲ ਗਈ, ਐਂਗਜ਼ਾਇਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਲ ਗਈ, ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੋਰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ, ਨਿੰਦਾ ਚੁਗਲੀ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਵੀ ਕਰੂਗੀ, ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇਖਦੀ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੁਸ਼, ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੂੰ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦਾ ਵਿਆਹ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਕਰਕੇ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦਾ, ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ, ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੀ ਕਹਿਣਾ, ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ ਬੁਲਾਉਣਾ, ਹਟ ਜਾਣਾ ਆ, ਰਾਈਟ, ਪਰ ਸੱਚਾਈ ਇਹ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਡਰ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰੂਗੇ, ਤੇ ਜੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਚੱਲ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਤੂੰ ਖੁਸ਼ ਆ, ਪਰ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਜਾਤ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਤੂੰ ਖੁਸ਼ ਆ, ਤੂੰ ਕਰ ਲਾ ਵਿਆਹ, ਤੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਵਿਆਹ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ, ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼, ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਨੂੰਹ ਆਈ ਉਹਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ, ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਉਮੈ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਕੱਟਣਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਸੀ. So the quick story I'm going to give, if anybody didn't understand, is there was a lady and she used to talk about everybody. So-and-so got married, so-and-so got married to somebody of a different caste, so-and-so got divorced. And she used to talk about everybody but say, I'm not gossiping, I'm just telling you the truth. I used to do it, maybe I used to say, we're talking about the facts. We're not gossiping, we're just talking about the facts. And what happened was her son needed to get married and he had his own girlfriend and she was a different caste. And then she felt really upset. She got into depression, anxiety, because she realized just like I was talking about everybody else's children, they'll now start talking about mine. And what she didn't think about until later was actually, first of all, Guruji's telling us that everybody's equal. There is no caste system in Sikhi. And secondly, well, is your son happy marrying that person? But what do we say? If I asked you, what do you want for the person you love the most? Whether it's your children, your parents, anybody, or even yourself, what do you want? Hanji. Asi ki chaahte hain, asi sade rishtedaaran, sade bachchiyan, what do we want for them? Thank you for saying the obvious, right? Asi sare kehte asi khushi leni hai ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ, ਸਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਖੁਸ਼ ਹੋਣ, our parents, sare jane khush hon. But in that story you can see a reflection of actually it wasn't about happiness, it was about status, right? It was about not being gossiped about, it was about expectation. So sorry, I'm going off in all different directions, I hope that's okay. So we've got to be compassionate with that. Even with that person, I'm not standing here telling you that because I'm judging them in that kind of way. It was like, okay, I understand that person has been caught up in a cultural system for their whole lives. They've been taught this and this and this is important. But now, my job in that situation is to step in and say, actually, why don't you think about, is your son happy? Or your daughter happy? Why don't you think about what is actually causing all that difficulty within you? Is it what people think? And actually, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪਈ ਸੀ, ਅੱਧੀ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ ਦਰਦ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ, ਮੇਰਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਹੁਣਾ ਵੀ ਚੰਗਾ, ਮੇਰੀ ਸੱਸ ਵੀ ਚੰਗੇ, ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਵੀ ਚੰਗੇ, ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਬੈਠਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ, right? So when I was in the worst pain of my life in the middle of the night, I might have had an amazing husband, amazing mother-in-law, 2 children, but they could not help me in that moment. And certainly the log, the ki kehna hai lokan, they certainly aren't sitting with me in that moment helping me. So what does that matter? That's Maharaji's direct instruction. Lok lajja nahi karna, ped chal nahi karna. Right? And so when we start to look at ourselves and we connect to that wisdom that is within us, we connect to the wisdom of Gurbani, we start to do that practical application of looking inside ourselves, then we can help someone else. So ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੇਖਣਾ, ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ. So Benji, just a time check.
We've got 20 minutes.
Okay. So ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਸੁੱਖ ਦੁੱਖ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਉਂਦਾ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਬੈਠੇ ਆ, ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ, ਉੱਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਆਮ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ. We're not just meant to be in this state of dukh and sukh. Maharaj ne sanu eh rasta dikhaya vi dukh vi aunda sukh vi aunda, asi ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਅਲੱਗ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਰਹਿਣਾ. How do we, the suffering might come, the good times might come, but Gurbani is telling us, how do we go beyond that? When we look at our history, we learn about Shaheed Singh and Singhaniyan Bhujangiyan, the children, the mothers, the fathers, the males, the females. What we're told is they all said, Tera kiya, meetha lage. That whatever was happening, whether mothers had their children cut piece to piece and put in as hard around their necks, whether people had, you know, their limbs cut piece by piece, we're told that they were still Jagdi Kala. They were still, why is it? Have you ever asked yourself, what is it that meant that anything could happen to them externally? Baron jo marji ho sakda, but andro shant si. What was that thing? And that's what Maharaj is trying to connect us to. So ultimately Maharaj is saying this dukh and this sukh is coming from our own actions, our own thoughts, our own words, our own karam. Man, bach karam. Whether it's pishale karam, whether it's these karam. But we're not always aware. We're not always aware, and that's why it's important to think about, how am I showing up? I'm not saying here, oh well, it's your fault if you're depressed or you're anxious. What I am saying is Maharaji is empowering you to say, if you're not feeling good right now, there's something you can do about it. When you start to evaluate, well, am I putting more priority on what people think about me because I haven't got X, Y, Z? Have a look at that. Am I doing what Gurbani is telling me, which is that Naam, that Simran? Am I in a state of acceptance that everything is perfect because God made it perfect? And am I praising Vaheguru with my every breath? Which sounds difficult, but why not start with one breath? Why not start with 15 minutes? Because when we go into that state of praise, what happens is we're not thinking about our problems anymore. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿਫਤ ਸਲਾਹਾਂ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ, ਹਨਾ? ਜਦੋਂ ਮਨ ਟੈਕ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਇੱਕਦਮ ਕਰਾਰੀ ਜੋ ਕਰੋ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹਜੂਰ ਖੁਦਾਏ. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਦਮ ਤੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਟਿਕਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ, ਫਿਰ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ. When we focus on this one breath and we let go of all those vichar, we start to feel that presence of Vaheguru Ji. Vichar mare tare tare ult jun na aave. Ye jehde vichar hai, these thoughts, these belief systems that are creating our suffering. So as we do the Simran, as we do the Path, as we do the Kirtan, if our mind is not in that Path or that Kirtan and that Simran, it's not going to have any effect. Maaf karna. Very little effect it's going to have. But ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਮਨ ਇੱਕ ਚਿੱਤ ਹੋ ਕੇ, when we really stabilize our mind, we make it one single pointed focus, then we do that Simran, then we do that Path, then we do that Kirtan, we come into Sangat. Because it's all a game of the mind, then our mind starts to connect to Vaheguru, it starts to connect to something higher. Anji. So Maharaj ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਰੋਗੀ ਨਾਮ ਦਾਰੂ ਮੈਲ ਲਾਗੇ ਸੱਚ ਬਿਨਾ. What is such? Such is Vaheguru. Such is what makes up you and me. Such is what gives us this breath. Vaheguru Ji gives us this breath. Vaheguru takes away this breath. I was sharing it with Benji. I was actually meant to go to a wedding yesterday and then come here, but we had to change plans last minute because I ended up having to go to a funeral of a 19-year-old. Hanji? So if you think I've got plenty of time, jadon mere bacche badde ho joge, when I get that promotion, when I retire, then I'll do this. Don't be mistaken. Hum aadmi haan ekdam maulat maut. Hum aadmi haan ekdam maulat maut na ja. That we are only a person because we have this breath, and this breath can stop at any moment. So if I had to go to a funeral of a 19-year-old yesterday, what makes any of us think we have plenty of time? And it's not even about the should or the have to. Idda nahi karna chahida ya that you're a bad person if you don't. It's sade liya. This is for us. Maharaji's given us the technique of simran, of bhakti, so we can be sukhi. Vaheguru doesn't need us to praise them. Vaheguru doesn't have an ego, right? Guru Maharaj is giving us this to say that actually if you go beyond yourself, if you connect to the truth of yourself, if you connect to that mool, that Jyot Sarup, you will be sukhi. You will get something from doing this. This is your medicine. Sarab roka okhad naam jehda simran ya asi pari nahi jana simaro simar simar sukh pavo wo asi simran karna si. We were supposed to do that simran. We were supposed to meditate. Hon asi kehde de, I'm going off piece by the way. Hon asi kehde sada man nahi jagda, sada man nahi lagda, sada man nahi tekda. We say my mind doesn't focus on the meditation, on the simran, on praising God, on the prayers. वो अभ्यास है. It's a practice, right? So ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਰੋਟੀ ਸਿੱਖਦੇ ਸੀ, or we learn how to drive a car, ਮੁੜ ਕੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ, ਅਭਿਆਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਂਦਾ. ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਨਾਮ ਅਭਿਆਸ. So ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਫੁਰਨਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, when our mind goes into thoughts, it goes into the past, and we get dukhi because we're reliving something that happened 5 years ago. That creates suffering. We go into the future and we're like, what's going to happen? And it hasn't even happened yet. We've created suffering. Vaheguru hasn't created that suffering in us. We've created it. Soch ke, asi apne aap nu dukhi karde hain. So what do we do? Abhyas asi kidda karna. That thought comes up, we say, Vaheguru. 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 The man nu mor ke liyo. Again and again, we say Vaheguru, and then our mind goes off. Vichara vich janda man. Onu more ke liyo na. We bring the mind back again and again. We call that meditation. Nowadays, even Western psychology, everybody is saying do mindfulness, do meditation. But Maharaji told us this years ago. Asi bolena Vaheguru. That manu takona. We need to focus our mind on the sound. Tun meh dhyan, dhyan meh janiya, gurumukh akat kahani. So the tun is the sound, the dhyan is our awareness. We say Vaheguru, we focus on Vaheguru. The mind goes off into vichar, the panchtur take us off in vichar, then what do? Manu mor ke liona. We say it again. Pama tusi 10 minute baithe raho. तो जे एक second भी मन लग गया, टेक गया, बढ़िया. Even if you sat for 10 minutes and only for 1 second your mind settled, that's amazing. तो जे तुसी रोज करोगे, if you do it every day, and by the end of the week, मन 5 second ले टेक लिया. For 5 seconds your mind settles. You will experience peace. You will experience sukh. तो जे हुन महीना साल तुसी ला लिया, रोज बैठना. Anyway, rasana na japi jana, manu taka ke. Not that we're just chanting with our mouth, but we settle our mind, we focus. If you do that every day, roj, amrit vela sachanao vadiyai vichara. You sit every day before everybody else gets up, and you focus that mind, you bring it back. Vichara oneya. But to see manu samjonaya, manu takonaya, manu modnaya. We're going to bring the mind back. We're going to teach the mind. Man jeete, jag jeet. So when you're able to conquer that mind, you teach it how to sit. You teach it how to listen. Then you can conquer your world, because your world is being created through your man, right? So right now, I had that experience of driving here, and something funny happened on the way. So obviously I haven't driven in London, well not obviously, but I haven't driven in London before, so I kept going in the wrong lane and trying to get in the right lane, and there was this car, and there was a bit of space, so I thought I'll just go into that lane. And as soon as I started to go into the lane, he moved forward so I couldn't go in. We were at the lights, like, questioning on us if I just went in. And so I managed to get in, and I could see. Okay, Tika. And then we went again, and he overtook, and then we get to more lights, and I was in the wrong lane again, and then I was indicating to go in, and then he went forward again. And then his child was sitting in the back, so I'm now behind him, and his child is doing that to me. I can't remember why I'm telling the story now. But I've actually lost my train of thought.
Whatever your mind is at, that's the world that you create.
Hanji. So someone else could have had that experience. I was laughing out loud when I saw the child doing that. Because to me it was the irony as well. It's like, this is, however you show up, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਮਨ ਆ, ਉੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ, ਉੱਦਾਂ ਤੇਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਣਾ. However your mind is, that's how you're going to be, and that's how your family is going to be, right? So we are creating that. So another person, I'm not going to name names, he could have gone and he would have been, oh my God, that person's, no, he's not like that, he's really nice. But another person could have gone and been like, oh my God, I hate London, oh, they're driving so bad, and they could have been beeping the horn, getting angry. The same situation, but it depends how your mind is. And I'm not saying I'm an angel, I was a little bit annoyed as well, because I've still got to work on it, haven't I? But whatever you look, whatever the lens is of your mind, that's how you're going to see the world. जिद्दां अपना मन है, जेरी चीज़ दी सेवा असीं करते हैं, उद्दां सानू महसूस होना. सर महाराज कहते परिए मत पापा के संग ओह तो पैर ना वैके. So when we're having this negative belief system, when we're having these constant thoughts, how do we change that? What is the jukti to change that? And Maharaj is saying, O to pair, na vekeram. So Naam is two things. Naam is what we do when we chant Vaheguru's name. Vaheguru, Vaheguru. The mind goes, the mind comes back. The mind goes, we bring it back until it settles. But Naam is also that experience of Vaheguru within us. And that's what really starts to transform us. So Maharaj tells us, Mantu Jot Sarupa hai, Apana Mool Pacham. So Vaheguru's not far away, Vaheguru's not a man in the clouds. Vaheguru's within everyone and also beyond everyone. Sargun, Nirgun, Nirankar, Sun, Samadhi, Aap, Apan Kiya Nanaka, Aapte Hi Fir Jao. Vaheguru Ji is all encompassing. So you're here, your actual purpose here in this life was not to earn status, money, to have this great relationship. Yes, but Maharaj wants us to do all of that as well. But our asali maqsad, our true purpose was Gobind Milan ki Ye Teri Bariya, was to experience Vaheguruji in this life. How do we do that? Agar kaaj tere kite na kaam, mil saad sangat pach ke bana, was to come into sangat, to chant that name, to do that meditation on Vaheguru. And that's where that peace comes from. Utho pe said Anand miluga. Jis as he said Anand vich ya, फिर कोई mental health problem हो सकता, करके कोई विचार नहीं होगा मन दे विच, फिर हो नहीं सकता. And that's not a judgment to say, oh, you know, you're a bad person. It's to say, do that kamai. Right? Guru's giving us that opportunity. So, vichar mare tare tare ult jod na aave. So that's what we were meant to do. And the reason why we're struggling and suffering is because we're believing there's bunch jod in our mind. We're believing society as telling us what's important, what's not important. So they are causing us suffering, and as we start to kill those thoughts, vichar mare tare tare, then we'll be able to transcend that. We'll still be in this world. You can still get married, you can still have children, you can still go to work, but now you're operating from a place of peace, of contentment, of bliss. And so the third thing is that practice, simaro, simar, simar sukhapavu, kal kale san mahe mitavu. That through that meditation on Vaheguru, Guru, teaching the mind to be still. And jaisa seve taisa hoye. If we start to serve Guruji now instead of our thoughts of fear, of anger, of judgment, when you serve Guru, you become like Guru. You start to take on those virtues of peace, of love, of forgiveness, of patience, of compassion. So, ਇਹ ਰੀਵੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਪਰੀ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਨੇ ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਪਾਠ ਕਰ ਲਏ ਵਧੀਆ ਆ ਕਰਨੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ ਪਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਖੋਜ ਵੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟੀਕਲ ਵੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀ. It's not enough to just say I've read it 5 times. That's great, you read it, but you're also supposed to understand it and apply it practically and do that simran. So, and then Maharaj is very clear. That worry, that kalesh, that conflict, whether it's internal or external, will be eradicated. So in these last few minutes, let's do that practical. Let's do it together. So, that was all just in case we had to. So how do we do this thing? So the first thing is, ਅਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਇੰਦਰੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਆ. So when I was saying I was driving, it's because I was looking at all the billboards and everything. I was taking thoughts on. So when we're practicing this, and that's separate from worldly life, and I'll explain that in a minute. When we sit down to practice it, it's important that we close our eyes. We're not listening to anything other than the sound of our voice. We're not thinking about anything else. So Maharaj said, "Nodar thake tavat rahai." The 9 doors of the body are the eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, mouth, 2 down below. So we're either going to use them to focus on the simran or we're going to close them off. Nodar thake tavat rahai, dasve nijkar vasta pai. Then the 10th gate. The 10th gate is what connects us to Vaiguruji. And I'm not going to go into what that means, what it looks like. The 10th gate is what gives us access to experience Vaiguruji. When we close those 9 doors, Tavat Rahai, we really focus on Vaiguruji, then that 10th gate opens where we experience Vaiguruji. Ote anhad shabad vajhay din rati gurmati sabad sunavanya. That's where you start to experience Vaiguruji's presence. So whether it's through the sound of the Anhad Shabad, again we don't have time for that, but the sound of Vaiguruji that's within you, whether it's Prakash, this light of Vaiguruji, or whether it's just a feeling of peace and bliss. So when we're sitting at the Gurdwara, we're looking at a suit, in a suit, kalviye payasi, that person wore that suit yesterday, and oh, that's saying he's really bad because our eyes are going into Maya, into Vichar. ਤਾਂ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਬੰਦ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ. So ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਆ, I request everybody close your eyes. So now that's half the job done. We're not focusing on the external. The ਹੁਣ ਕੀ ਹੋਗਾ, ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਆਉਗੇ. Our thoughts will come up. So how do we stop these thoughts coming up? We hold on to the Guru Mantra. This Sahib ki teg, Nanak manne mahe, jis simrat sukh hoye, sagle dukh jaye. We use that teg, the anchor of the Guru Mantra. Gaviye, we chant Vai Guru. So we're focusing on wow, Va, Guru, to that light within all. Gaviye, suniye, but asi apni awaaj nu vi sunna. We're going to really focus. Are you fully present? Vartaman de vich sada man hega, ja vichara vich. Asi mor ke man nu liona. Gaviye, suniye. So chant. Really listen to the sound of your voice. Man. Vaiguru. Gaviye, suniye. Man rakhiye pao. And with that love, with that loving devotion, to connect to our true souls, to our mood, to Paramatma, to Vaiguru, to God. So ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਪਣਾ, ਜੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਆਏ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਮੋੜ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਰਨਾ. So we're going to chant. If you get any thoughts, just gently, pyar de naal, with love, bring your mind back to the sound of your own voice. So we're going to say Vai, listen. Guru, listen. Vai bolana, फिर सुनना. Guru bolana, फिर सुनना. पूरा मन ਨੂੰ ਇਕਾਗਰ ਕਰਨਾ. Really focus, really concentrate. ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਣਾ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਨ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਸਰੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ. What happens to our mind and our body as we do this? So eyes closed, really focusing, really listening. Sare jane japo. Why Guru, 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 Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji. So कई बारी ज़्यादा विचार आते हैं, we get too many thoughts. तो उदों कि असी की करना मन को कुटना है, कुट मन कसवट्टी लाए. So when we're having too many thoughts as we chant, sometimes we have to beat the mind. So we chant louder, we chant faster, and then we learn to focus. So honestly japana, थोड़ी जैसी उच्ची जपना, the मन को एकाग्र करना. We're going to chant a little bit louder to focus the mind. आओ करो कृपा. Why Guru, 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 why Guru. Focus your mind. Why Guru, why Guru, why Guru, why Guru. On Swasadana. Inhale Vahe, exhale Guru. अंदर ਨੂੰ ਵਾਹੇ ਬੋਲਣਾ, ਬਾਹਰ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ. ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ. Long breaths. ਮਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਪਣਾ. Chant in your mind. ਮਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੁਣਨਾ. Listen in your mind. सारा ध्यान अंदर रखना. Keeping all of your attention inside. महाराज कहते घर सुख वसया बार सुख पाया कहो नानक गुरु मंत्र दर राय. When we embed the Guru Mantra, Waheguru, in our mind, ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਮੰਤਰ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਟਿਕਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਅਸਲੀ ਘਰ ਆ ਅੰਦਰ, that internal home becomes sukhi, becomes peaceful. ਤੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਮੰਤਰ ਨੂੰ ਦੁਹਰਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸੁਖੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਫਿਰ ਬਾਹਰ ਵੀ ਸੁਖ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. When we embed that Guru Mantra in our mind, we experience that internal peace. And everything outside becomes a peaceful experience as well. So holy, holy, slowly, slowly opening your eyes. And just notice any difference in your own mind. महसूस करो अपना मन दा हाल. थोड़े मिनट, 4-5 मिनट. I don't even think that much. You chanted the Guru Mantra. And if you feel any peace, je sukh महसूस होया 5 मिनट संगत दे विच आके, ਉਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਆ ਵੀ ਜੋ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ. ਤੇ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਅਭਿਆਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਉਨਾ ਸੁਖ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੋਗਾ. This is truth, that what Guru Maharaj Ji has told us, that through this meditation, through this chanting, through this training of the mind, we experience peace. And the more we do it, the more experience of peace we will have. And this is just the beginning, Sangat Ji. ਇਹ ਤੋਂ ਗਾਂ ਵੀ ਅਵਸਥਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਨਾਲ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਬਣੂਗੀ, ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਅਨਹਦ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਵੀ ਸੁਣ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਮਿਲਾਪ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ. ਪਰ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਟੈਪ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਿਮਰਨ ਦਾ ਹੈ. This is the first step. And beyond that, as we learn to train this mind, to attach this mind to Vaheguru, then we can start to experience those higher states of seeing Vaheguruji's light, of hearing their shabad, of merging with them. So inniya bintiyan paravan karniyan. I might have made lots of mistakes, so please forgive those. And we finish on this final binti, that may Maharaj join us all in union with themselves. Deho sajan ਅਸੀਂ ਸਰੀਆਂ ਜੋ ਹੋਵੇ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਿਓ ਮੇਲ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
Waheeguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheeguru Ji Ki Fateh. I can just look at everybody. Everybody's looking very calm and peaceful. Maharaj Ji बहुत कृपा है. ये पैंती ते ना आवाज़ सुन के ही बंदा शांत हो जाता है. Imagine, listening to them for an hour, that was really calming, really peaceful. So Maharaj Ji Kirpa, Maharaj Banai Rakhan Kirpa Benji te. It was very hard hitting and it was very refreshing at the same time. So very, very thankful to have you here, Benji. The floor is open for question and answer for about 20 minutes, 15 minutes or so. And then if anybody wants refreshments, they're at the back as well. But it's a really nice opportunity for everybody to ask questions. If there's any clarification needed from the presentation, you can do that as well. Again, we want to use Benji as much as we can while they're here. They've given us that value, that time out of their life and out of their breaths, and each breath is very valuable, as Benji has mentioned a few times. Let's use this time and ask questions so that we too can progress in our spiritual journey to Vaheguru. So the floor is open for anyone that wants to ask questions. Just raise your hand and we'll, You want to come forward? You want to come up and ask the question? Okay.
That's okay, I can just thank you. That was amazing. Everything that you talked about. When I do Nam Simran, and I came to, I saw you at Slough that time, and you talked about doing Nam Simran out loud. That definitely had a really positive impact on me, because I used to do it internally, and doing it out loud has really helped. But what I wanted to ask was, in my mind, I'm quite a visual person, so I see a lot of images, which can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing if you're anxious